I'm Kellie Klein, and I'm here to talk about meditations on water. But first, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit further. I got my undergraduate degree in Carbondale, Illinois at SIU, where I studied with Chuck Swedlin, Catherine Paul, Dwayne Powell, some very talented photographers at the time. And then I moved to Chicago and did a different kind of study, which was basically working and learning from many of my employers. I had the great fortune of assisting a lot of very talented photographers. Gene Moss was an exceptional people photographer. Dennis Menarche I worked with rarely, but I don't think anyone can introduce him quite properly, so I won't try to. And a number of others, Bart Harris, and the list goes on, where I learned a lot more about shooting and lighting and people in general. And after a spell of assisting, I moved on into photo styling, which is basically shopping for photographers. And after several years of shopping, I decided that wasn't really my niche. And to this day, I still don't like to shop anymore. I did a lifetime of shopping in about 4 years. So I applied to Columbia College in Chicago and was awarded a full ride. So I decided I'd get my master's. So I did that, and then once I received my master's, I started teaching at College of DuPage. So we're going to fast forward a few years to now, and now I am working in color photography, digital photography. Previously, I was working in 19th century processes, which is very antiquated photography. But I had kids and decided I'd give myself 10 years to raise my kids as much as I could hands-on, and then move back into photography, which is why I'm in digital now, because the antiquated processes are what they are, antiquated. So I learned that along the way, among many other things. And just about the time I thought I was going to get into showing in galleries again and teaching some more, my father came down with pancreatic cancer. And that was what prompted Meditations on Water, some of the work that you will be seeing. I was pretty devastated at the time, and when I wasn't at home taking care of him and helping my mother, I would go down to Lake Michigan, because I live relatively close to the lake, and take walks just to kind of clear my head and think about, my dad, myself, and time in general. And some days I would go down there and the lake would be calming and soothing, and the water would lap across the shore, and it would I could feel the tension melt out of my body, which was, it was bliss. And other days, the illness progressed into the fall. He had surgery, and that didn't go so well, and that was kind of the beginning of the end. But I would go down there, and the lake would be raging. The waves would be coming really hard and really, really high, and the wind would just be wicked. And I was angry, and I was like, wow, I'm so mad. And then I'm looking at the lake, and I'm thinking, the lake's pretty angry today too. This is kind of weird. And I just kind of set all that aside and, went on with life. And a few years later, after my dad had passed and I was working on a water narrative, I was very concerned about water pollution and evaporation and just the way we're kind of destroying our natural resources. I couldn't really find a fit for what I was wanting to do with the water until I started thinking about my walks along the lake, and I realized what I wanted to do was to photograph water as a metaphor for human emotions, the way people feel. Sometimes we do feel very calm and very relaxed, and sometimes we feel angry and tumultuous, and sometimes it's just happy. You just feel happy, when you're near water and it's a pretty sky, or this, the sound of the water might be soothing to some people. And so that was the reason I picked up on the metaphor, meditations on water, which kind of is how this show has evolved over a number of years. It took, the passing of my father and a few more years to just kind of figure out what I wanted to do with the show to make it all coalesce. So that's a bit about the show, and I'm really excited to be showing here at the MCAC because I actually grew up in Paris, Illinois, which is it's a couple hours from here. I don't know how many viewers are familiar with Illinois, but it's pretty much in the center of the state on the Indiana border. So it's not too far away, and I consider this kind of part of my own backyard. So I'm very happy and honored to be in this gallery. Besides, it's just a really cool building and a great space. Well, I'm always thinking about what's going on next in my life, and some people might say I'm a little ADD in that regard. I currently have about 3 different shows that I'm working on. But what's going on next is I'm thinking about time as, again, a kind of a metaphor and something that I want to visualize, which happens in this show. A lot of my exposures and meditations on water are done with a long exposure time. So time is something that I'm always thinking of. So I'm trying to depict time because as we all get older, our notion of time is different than when we're younger. And a lot of that has to do with our experiences, because time is just kind of a measure of events that you've had in your life. If that's kind of events in memory make time. As soon as we take a photograph, it's history. So I'm trying to address the notion of time moving back and forth, but in a very non-linear way. So it wouldn't be a narrative, it would be kind of a story, kind of like being lost in time, today and not today. So that's one of the current themes I'm working on.